Untamed is going to be untamed. It's going to be a little crazy. I want to talk to my people. I want to talk to my brothers and sisters. We can have grace and humility in how we interact with other people.
Oh, hot dog, look at you.
And nobody talked about what's really happening.
And let's have conversations about what truth is.
If I'm remembering correctly, there were several states involved.
And which time period are you referring to?
This was 2020.
Before or after the election?
During the election.
In your examination of any of these Dominion systems, have you seen any indication of non-election personnel remotely accessing a Dominion system?
Yes.
Can you tell us about that?
I too have reviewed a series of emails produced by Dominion in which they're discussing remoting into Gwinnett County, Georgia.
You also mentioned Dominion remotely connecting to election systems, but you don't have any evidence that occurred in Georgia, correct?
There was one county. I've seen a lot of Dominion emails. I've had to translate Dominion emails from Serbian to English to verify the technical questions I was being asked about them, to verify that it was translated properly. So
it's your testimony that there is evidence of Dominion remotely accessing Georgia election equipment?
yes, on the one county. It was included with stuff that I was researching and reading through, considering Colorado. Michigan was also involved, and there were other ones.
To your understanding, is Dominion able to remotely connect to these election systems?
Yes.
Are they able to do that without detection?
Yes.
And are you aware of any instances in which that has occurred?
Yes.
Can you identify those instances?
One would be the Denver, Colorado server was granted, or requested to grant Belgrade, only Belgrade. I did search. There is a Belgrade, Montana. Again, why would Montana need to connect into a Colorado file transfer server as part of the election system? And there are other components and things that were done in the background concerning the database and the configure of the database server that still do not have an engineering change order, because if somebody works in an operational environments for a lot of different things, what I will tell you is sometimes things break or you have a problem and you have to fix it. And you submit a change request, or in this case, an engineering change order that's retroactive, right? You want to go back and make sure that you record the process so that you have change management and integrity of the system. If you do not record changes, you lead yourself down a very bad.
If you don't record changes, now I've heard it all. I've heard the left come in and tell me there's nothing to see here, that the elections are fair and safe. How did the Republicans win the House, the Senate, and the presidency? We can go back to 2017, look at the same thing. You can sit here and tell me that there's nothing to see here, except for there's a lot to see here. And just because they create the appearance, look, this has been going on for a long time. This radical, leftist, disturbing, deviant environment's been going on a long time. They're very patient. Let's just wait. Let's just wait. Let's wait it out. Let's go back a little bit because the people are about to revolt. Let's get them to the point where we've demoralized them. Let's take things from them that were never theirs to take. The First Amendment, the Second Amendment, no matter where you look across the entire country, a rotted judiciary and henchmen for this police state, slave state, whatever you want to call it, step out and do really horrible things to the average American. They demoralize, they bully, they intimidate, they dog whistle. But do any of them have any sort of knowledge? No. They say, you show us the proof, show us the evidence that the elections were stolen. Then we walk it into court, we say this is true. And they go, oh, that's not enough. That's smoke, but that's not fire. The sheer idea that they keep us away from the proprietary nature of a system that is designed to do one thing, that's count votes. Or that you have to rub on your belly and tap on your head with ranked choice voting and changing the rules to the game. Just keep moving the chess pieces around the table so that it only benefits a few set people. But they tell us that we live in a democracy. We got to protect democracy. More dog whistles and more things that are said by the radical left, the media, the CIA, that tell us there's nothing to see here. And every single time we uncover the same thing, improprieties that happened during COVID, improprieties related to big pharma, improprieties related to the government's use of our tax dollars, improprieties in foreign policy and lies that, hey, don't look over there, weapons of mass destruction, oh, that didn't exist. We have to align with genocide and ethnic cleansing of an entire group of people because, God forbid, we stand against the diabolical nature of what is being done and not be called an anti-Semite. And I'm not for any side. I'm for the side that says, don't go blow up people. And I do recognize that there are people that are diabolical. And frankly, Iran has been like team evil for a long time, but the people aren't. And the people suffer, and the people in the United States are suffering right now. We don't have a Second Amendment. We have flock cameras on every corner. They have license plate readers. They can do whatever the hell they want. And by the way, they can presume that you are guilty until proven innocent, not the other way around. And no matter what they say and what kind of stuff they put out there, it's all a lie. But the elections run by people that, frankly, are diabolical and they're weak, pathetic. I put out a thing this morning where I was like, listen, this is where we are. And just so you know, as we go through a couple of these things, we're going to bring on our guest. He is one of my favorite lefties. We're going to talk about Jake Lang, some of the things that are going on and across the board. I would actually say that Patrick's more of a patriot that is confused at times. We're going to have a really good time with him today. But I want you to see this. This is a disgraced FBI executive that back in 2020 said that he's there to uphold the rule of law. This guy's disgraced. And again, no matter how disgraced somebody is, it's nothing to see here. Go ahead and play it. What is the FBI doing to combat election fraud?
The FBI is charged with protecting the rights of all Americans, including their right to vote. While the responsibility to ensure a fair election process lies primarily at the state and local level, the FBI takes allegations of election-related violations of federal law seriously. The FBI investigates federal election crimes that generally fall into three categories: campaign finance crimes, voter ballot fraud, and civil rights violations. The FBI Washington Field Office works with our state and federal partners to engage with other law enforcement partners and provide resources about the FBI's role in elections.
It's just three parts. 3 parts. You can't make this stuff up. And President Trump tomorrow on Thursday is going to announce a bunch of things. You can also see that they're already starting to soften what we're going to talk about. President Trump says we're going to talk about election fraud, but we're going to talk about other things as well. Which means there are people that are telling him you can't talk about these things yet. It would create a national emergency, a constitutional crisis. I can already see the people in the room that are throwing around legal jargon, telling him what his obligations are under this statute or sub-statute. As the president, you're held to this standard, because they can find a rule for everything to keep the president from doing what he wants to do. He's got incredible instincts. I hope he follows them. And then I put up this post with a simple post of saying, yep, traitors everywhere. And it's a reminder, it was disgraced FBI Executive Timothy Thibault was responsible for investigating the 2020 election fraud. Instead, all he did was he and all the cowards at the WFO covered it up and targeted J6ers instead. That happened. By the way, Phil Kennedy was and has been in government service for a long time, a whistleblower. And let's not forget about the media's role in all this. Like, we know who our enemies are. The gaslighting is over. We don't need to prove anything. We don't have to say another word. I don't want to hear another person. Every person that says, oh, you need to prove, show us the proof. Man, the proof is literally in front of you every single day. But math, man, who likes math? Because they created Common Core math. I mean, that's real math right there. Yeah. I want you to see this. This is the co-conspirators in the treason and sedition that we face today. Play it.
The reality is that most of us were lied to by the media about President Trump. And if you just go back to the source material, you should take away two things. One, he didn't say half the things he said. And two, why did these other people just fabricate what they wanted to say so that they could essentially assassinate his character? I think that that second thing is completely unacceptable in America. And there's still been no repercussions, really. I took the time to learn about it. I admitted where, the way that I met him was I admitted on the pod, which, has millions of viewers. And I said, I got it totally wrong. Because I went and I watched Charlottesville. And the first person to call me?
Who was it?
President Trump. And I got to know him. And I put the phone down. I called my wife and I said, we got it totally, totally wrong. We were lied to. And then I got to know him. And he is fantastic.
What's funny about that is I've had people that have worked with me for 12, 13, 14, 15 years, known me for 20 years. And they're like, Joe, if people only knew who you were. Now, I don't have billions, and nobody gave me a trust fund and told me to go out there and build my empire. I just got out there and I scraped and I prodded and fought and made sure that ethically I was able to build up something that was pretty amazing. And in the middle of that, just so you know, this kind of learning how to be successful in a world that is filled with sharks and people that want to take from you what's never theirs to take. I learned a very valuable lesson and lost everything once and said, okay, I'm not going to do that again. I'm going to set myself up for success and make sure I protect my family. But the amount of liars that exist out there in the business world is nothing compared to that of politics. But everything they said about President Trump is true. You get to know the guy, and he's a regular guy. He's a good man. He was a good man long before he ran for president. All you have to do is have a conversation with him. I want you to see this. This is what Chuck Schumer said when he was on the floor giving a speech on the Senate floor. I think things are about to come unraveled. And I'm not going to cue you up or do any of that stuff, but it's coming unraveled. And here's what Chuck Schumer said when giving a speech on the Senate floor. You have to turn the volume up because he literally, I think, is. These are just old geezers, man. These are all geezers that they're just terrible human beings. But I want you to see this because it is a little funny. Go ahead and play it.
And we need a complete investigation that's independent. Now on Iran and the NDAA, when all the Trump administration...
Those are really good mics. I'm going to tell you. I don't agree with AOC on a lot of things, but finally she made sense at least once. I mean, this is a bartender, by the way, out of New York City. Mamdani was a guy that did TikTok videos. We could talk about Ilhan Omar and the fact that she never had a job other than working as a 7-Eleven clerk, and that these people are easy to control. They're dumber than rocks. Ilhan Omar's a little bit dumber than others, probably, single-digit IQ. But here she's questioning how lawmakers can disappear from Congress for months without public explanation, and that, frankly, we just got to get to the point where we have term limits. Go ahead and play it.
People can just go missing without explanation. Not just Mitch McConnell. You had another member here that was just gone for 4 months and didn't tell anyone where they were, no whereabouts, no transparency. I mean, this is it. I don't even know how this is legal. I really don't even know how this is legal. Things do happen, people get into medical incidents. If you're in the hospital, you're in the hospital, but I do think that there should be some sort of, there's a line here. And I think almost everyone can agree that it's been crossed. This is not normal. This is not normal at all.
It's not normal. Now, I think what she's referring to is Mitch McConnell, the brain dead individual that frankly should have left Congress a long time ago. Or maybe we could talk about the fact that there are others that have betrayed the American people. And obviously, history favors the victor. And so they can make up the story and the narrative about, they did it to John McCain, who was diabolical. I'm just going to, just so we're all clear. John McCain, I sat in the room with him several times. There was never a time that he wasn't nasty. He was just a nasty, mean person. And entitled, man, I think the reason why the whole country is entitled is because the people in leadership, they set that entitlement. They didn't have to work for anything. And you can say, he was a war hero. Okay. Two things can be true at the same time. If you're a war hero and you become a cannibal and you start eating your neighbors, are you still a war hero? And he did some really bad things. He did really bad things. But we put up on pedestals people that are frankly warmongers and just diabolically evil people. And although I wouldn't go as far as to call John McCain evil, I will tell you that he sure does come close to the line in a lot of different ways. So let's talk about our guests, because we're going to talk about stuff related to Jake Lang. I got to talk about Jake Lang. And I want to talk to him about this stolen elections. Him and I got a very fruitful conversation before. And one of the things that I think that he will tell you is that it's more complicated than left or right. And if we can get to a place where we can stop wearing the R jersey or the D jersey, we can throw out these criminals on both sides of the aisle that have done really bad things to the American people. We're where we are right now because they were selected, not elected. But we're going to have that conversation with Patrick Reilly. He is a former Navy journalist. So he was a journalist in the Navy who traveled the country attending MAGA events, which is awesome. That's how he started. And I like having him on because we do get to a place where we have common ground. And he's always open to having open discussions. So with that said, Patrick, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Joe. I appreciate it.
You know, we've always been able to find common ground. And as I was having this interview with Jake Lang, you sent me a text message and you're like, Joe, stop.
Yeah. Yeah. The reason I said that was not because I don't want to have, people who I disagree with, have a platform. It's just that individual in particular is the most toxic person I've met in my travels. And I've been, over the last close to a decade now, I've been everywhere following MAGA from, San Francisco to Miami to Texas to New York. I mean, the whole country, right?
I mean, Ilhan Omar could give him a good run for his money on the toxicity part. I mean,
I've never met her. I'm just talking about the people I've met, okay, personally. So I've never met the Congresswoman, but I have met Jake, unfortunately, on several occasions and had in-person and online conversations with him. And, one of the things I told myself when I started going to events was don't judge anybody because they're wearing a red MAGA hat or because they've got waving a flag or a T-shirt. If somebody decides to act like a racist, then treat them like that. But don't assume that someone's a racist or a misogynist or a homophobe. You name it.
I've been called.
Don't do that because
I know, but it's not. Badges. Where are they?
Right. It doesn't lead to productive conversations ever, right? So if you go into a conversation like that with somebody, it's a waste of everybody's time. So I've told myself, don't do that. But some people, when they show their ass, you have to believe them, And the first time I interacted with Jake was down in DC when the Proud Boys were all released. I went down there and spent the weekend. And, took a lot of photos and stuff. And I talked to everybody from, Stuart Rhodes to Enrique Tarrio. And I hung out with those guys and listened to their stories about prison and took photos. And Jake was pretty quiet at that time. Like he didn't present himself like a lunatic to me. I actually talked to him and Coy Griffin about the gospel. We talked about the Bible for a little while in a bar. and I didn't think he was a lunatic. And then Enrique invited me on the podcast to debate Jake, and he did it with his shirt off the whole time and just screamed over me. And I was like, wow, like this guy, when he's performing, he's performing a lot. This is all performative, and I just don't respect that with anybody. When you're one way in person and another way on a podcast, you're a douchebag to me. I'm not with that. You know what I mean? I imagine I haven't had the opportunity to meet in person, but I would bet my next paycheck that you're the same guy that you are here in person, right?
I have this thing, be the same guy. Just to tell you, I mean, I have the same insurance company I've had for 24 years, right? I've been married 24 years. And it hasn't always been like sunshine and rainbows.
God bless her.
But, you know, yeah, she has to put up with me. But I'm the same guy in Las Vegas that I am.
Well, I assumed it was a her. Maybe I shouldn't have done that.
No, you absolutely should have.
Okay. No, it was a cheap shot. I'm just saying. No, the thing with Jake, I talked to him again. You know, there was another incident on the 5-year anniversary of January 6th. I was in DC again, and I had the unfortunate displeasure of talking to him. And you know, he was out there, you know, at the mall, screaming at police officers, calling them everything but a child of God. You know, guys that are just there, just doing their job, you know, keeping people separated and whatnot, not making a lot of money.
Now, Paddy,
and I just had a problem with that because there's no violence that day.
You
know,
I do not believe in just doing your job. That you know better than that. You can't just say I'm just doing my job.
Well, no, I'm saying all these people were doing was standing there.
Yeah, I mean that's
these dudes were just standing there.
Baseless attack. Yeah.
Yeah, and so Jake is up and screaming in their faces, and I'll give the, you know, I normally don't stick up for the police, but I'll give them credit for not reacting. You know, they were very professional and they didn't get involved in it. But he was trying to bait them, and he goes into, you know, restaurants, cafes, local businesses in Minnesota, trying to you know, start some sort of, you know, big problem. And I'm like, dude, this is all just so you can get clicks on the internet. I have no respect for this whatsoever. So, you know, he's a psychopath, I think, really. And I think I've had enough interaction with him to have that opinion and not think that it's hyperbole. I think he really is a wacko.
Well, I don't, you know, look, I'm going to have to disagree with the part. I think he's very smart. I think he takes advantage of his environment. He is self-consumed. There's other people that are in this movement on both sides of the aisle that are also self-consumed, that get a kick out of people getting millions of views, right? So
yeah,
I think that he cheapens his ability to be effective, and by doing things like slapping a Quran with bacon and doing things that frankly I find offensive, and you're not going to get anybody to have a dialogue or a debate with you in that way. At the same time,
yeah,
you know, that there's an argument to be made, and I'm not sure I agree with it. Okay, so I'm just saying there's an argument to be made, and that argument is it takes extremes in order to pull us back to a place of decency, right? And right now we're not. You could probably agree. You live in Philly now still? Are you still in Philly?
No, Boston.
Boston. Okay.
Yeah.
You would agree that there's good parts of Boston. There's bad parts of Boston. There's parts of Boston you probably, you know, don't want to find yourself in, and getting attacked by some ruthless person that got let out of prison by the 12th time and should be locked up for the rest of his life, gets out there and tries to stab you in your pecker, you're going to be a little upset over it, right? Because they should have gotten.
Yeah, but I needed to make the point though that Boston, for its the size of this city, we have it's one of the safest cities in the country. Some may say the safest big city in the country. So, but you're right. There are neighborhoods. There are neighborhoods that you don't want to hang out in.
You also have a shoreline that is covered with bodies. I mean, if you were to dredge the,
if you were to dredge you don't worry about that.
Okay, but if you were to dredge,
you don't worry about that.
If you were to dredge the bridges, tell me you wouldn't come up with like 70 bodies that happened to get there in the last 6 to 9 months. I mean, the place is filled with it. The fish are really happy.
I have no comment on that. Yeah.
So crime stays under control in a place like Boston because the people don't put up with anything, right? I'm an East Coaster, man. There's certain things you can get away with, but there's an underground in Boston nobody talks about. Sorry.
Yeah, but look, every big city has got their crime issues, but I think we do better than most. The thing is that I just want to get back to you're talking about the Jake thing. we oftentimes judge each other by where we come from. And I was in a space the other day I got kicked out of, and somebody said something about hating Elizabeth Warren, and I said, well, it's funny. I just happened to mention that I live like 2 miles away from her, because the other side of my street is actually in Cambridge, and I live in. Well, I shouldn't even be that specific, because who knows what'll happen. But I just mentioned, I was like, this is part. And somebody said, "Oh, that's the problem right there." Basically, just saying, "Oh, I know you're a jackass because you live in New England, you live in Massachusetts or Boston or whatever." We got to stop doing that kind of thing. I mean, I would never have guessed that you were from DC, because I just knew of you as being a guy in Colorado, right?
Yeah.
But I didn't know where you were from, and I was interested when I heard that. I was like, "Wow, that puts a whole kind of different paint job on things." But I would neither judge you for being from DC nor from Colorado, because people are people no matter where you go. And I've got really good friends who are conservatives in very rural areas, and I've got liberal friends in the city. And if I just judged everybody by where they come from or how they vote, I wouldn't have either one of those things. I'd hate everybody and be sitting in my house all day just pissed. So Jake kind of does. He judges everybody within 10 seconds, and I don't have time for that, man.
Well, I mean, you probably listen to some of the podcasts or all the podcasts. I mean, it was a tough
I listened to a few minutes of it, as much as I could take. Yeah.
The tough part for me is that, I think you have to counsel Jake back, and he's going to get mad at having this conversation with you about that, and I just don't care. But the reality of it is this: I tried to counsel him that first of all, if you spend all of your time talking and none of your time listening, you're gonna find yourself alone sooner or later. And you might have people that listen to you on the internet, but you're not going to hold any credibility. You're not going to be able to present yourself in such a way that you actually have any meaningful change. And my family is interracial, right? So when he starts putting black people all in one circle, or I made the joke about Asians, because they all get really good test scores. And I was like, they're the only ones that get left out of this whole deal, right? And I was just joking around, right? But we can poke fun at kind of the racial differences while still recognizing that we're all one race, bro. I mean, we all bleed blood. I mean, when you go to get blood at a bank, it's by blood type, not by race.
Right.
Right.
And you and I agree on that completely. I obviously Jake doesn't, you know what I mean? And that's a problem. That's a real problem.
Yeah, and
unless he's just doing it as a performative thing, which maybe is possible. I doubt it, but he might be playing. It might be a bit. You know what I mean? He might be trying to get into, because I've met a lot of people over the last 10 years who are kind of who clearly are playing a part in order to get clicks and all this other stuff, and you can make a lot of money doing that. I think half the stuff that comes out of Laura Loomer's mouth is stuff she doesn't even believe. But, there's a lot of money in saying it. So Ashley St. Clair did some interviews recently where she talked about the fact that you can make, she kind of laid bare, like, hey, if you just repost this stuff, you don't have to believe it, but you can make money. And I don't think she's lying about that. You know what I mean? So.
Well, I mean, this is why, frankly, when I put something
dirty
out there,
business.
It's really, really a dirty business. And if I had to make my living off a dirty business, I'd be in big trouble, because I just couldn't live with myself.
Right.
Right. And I always tell the truth. That's the other part, is that I have no interest in liars. I'll call liar. I don't care what side of the fence they're on. I think Mitch McConnell is just a walking corpse. I think the Republicans have literally betrayed the people, just like the Democrats have betrayed. I think we're in just a whole betrayal. It's like one big circus of betrayal.
Yeah. Yeah. I like the fact that you played the AOC clip about that stuff, though, because even though, obviously you probably couldn't agree with her on the day of the week, she's right about that. And, term limits, this is something that like 90% of the country agrees on, but we won't ever get done because the 435 assholes in the Congress will never accept it. Well, 435 in the House. I'm saying it'll never get to the Senate. You know what I mean? Like, so. No, it wouldn't happen. It's sad because
you have this self-aggrandizing environment where they basically get to stuff their faces and forget about the people, and they get amnesia right when they get there, right? And so we see this illusion of freedom, and I think that's one of the things that we probably all can agree on. Do you feel more free today than you were 10 years ago?
No.
do you feel better
Not
off
at all.
today? Do you feel more hopeful? You
No,
see what I mean?
definitely not. Yeah.
We have these conversations collectively, and I get yelled at for having people that are on the left friends. I got lots of friends that are on the left. Lots. I personally think that Robert Kennedy, Bobby, and Tulsi Gabbard, 2 Democrats, have done more in the Trump administration to promote and to bring things to light than almost everyone else combined.
Yeah. Hey, look, some of my closest friends who I spent, a lot of time with over the last, several years are hardcore right wingers. You know what I mean? I don't, to me, it's not a requirement of you to agree with me politically to be a friend of mine. You know what I mean? There are other requirements, like don't be a scumbag and stuff like that. But it's not, there's a lot of people who'll say that, but then in practice, they don't do it.
Right.
The easiest way to end up like demonizing people is to not interact with them in real life and just read stuff on the internet or watch YouTube videos and stuff and decide you hate people. Like one of the best things about the Navy, right, and especially the ship that I served the most time on, was that you are put in an environment that is extremely diverse, and you're in such close quarters that you just cannot be a racist. You know what I mean? Because you start to realize that, hey, everyone in here is up against the same stuff I am. They're living the same life that I am. They've got families that, it humanizes people when you're just forced to deal with people. But when you can live in like an area where and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with living in like a rural area where most people are white or whatever, but when you don't interact with people who are different than you on a regular basis, whether it's racially or politically, it's very easy to have cartoonish views or like create a caricature out of people, And I find that happens sometimes when I have conversations, not all the time, but when I have conversations with people, MAGA people I don't know, they assume a ton of things about me that are just not true. Like they assume that I think that men should be able to play in women's sports because they think that's a liberal thing, but that's not my thing. I don't agree with that. There are many other issues just like that. That people will just assume that I think that. And that's because they don't have a lot of exposure to people who think differently than them. And I think that's bad for all of us.
Yeah. So this gets into, and I think your video kind of went haywire on us there for a minute. Did we get a fix check, guys, on your side?
Let me try and fix it. Oh, you know what? Yeah, there it is. I don't know why that happened, but I got it.
So let's walk through common ground. I think common ground's the best place to start. Okay. I personally, growing up on the East Coast, you had Chinatown, you had the Italians, you had all these different groups. They have them in DC, they have them in Boston, they have them in New York, right? You have different areas that historically going back 300 years are filled with people in different types of cultures, right? But if you look at holistically what is happening today, I can't get behind Team Islam, where we build out entire cities that are Islamist cities. I mean, do you think that that's okay? Do you think that represents a security risk to us as a country? That's fine.
Well, look, I don't think that people should. I don't think people should intentionally separate themselves from the people that they live in the country with. You know what I mean? I think if you come here, you are agreeing to assimilate because that's what this country is about, right? It's always been that way. Now, when you talk about neighborhoods like Little Italy or Chinatown, or in where I live in Massachusetts, we've got South Boston, which is traditionally and still mostly is Irish. There are neighborhoods that kind of stay that way for a long period of time, but over the years, Little Italy has shrunk down. It's not it's not an Italian neighborhood, New York or Boston, the north end of Boston. It's not mostly Italians that live there anymore. It's restaurants and stuff like that because people eventually spread out, and just kind of melted into the fabric of the country. I think that because of 9/11 and because of all the war in the Middle East, that it's become a little bit more difficult for people who are Muslim to spread out in the country the way that maybe the Irish did, or the Italians or the Germans did, 150 years ago.
You can't.
No,
go to
hold on a
an
second.
NFL
Let
city
me
with
just
that.
make the point.
Okay. All right.
I'm not saying that's a good thing. I'm just saying that because there's a lot of static, between Muslim countries in the United States, and there has been for quite a while, that it gets a little bit hairy there. It gets difficult. I'm not saying that the goal should always be assimilation, right? And I think that eventually we're going to get that, but we are also talking about I think it's 4 million or 4.5 million at last, Muslims in America. It really happens to seem more extreme because they're so concentrated in areas like in Minnesota and New York City, right? So I don't think it's this massive issue that we need to really freak out about. But it's legitimate that there needs to be more assimilation, I think, and less, living separately beside your neighbors. I don't think that's healthy in the long run.
Okay. So just so you know, the Muslim population in the United States, they say it's 4.5 million, but it's actually more. It's actually closer to 11, because they don't keep very good statistics on the Muslim faith specifically, right? So, and those are just reports that come out of different organizations. I tell you what, we're going to take a quick commercial break because I want to see Patrick's face, and we have a video issue, so we're going to solve that. So we're going to go to a quick commercial break. When we come back, we'll have Paddy back with us. We'll be right back.
Oh, hi. I almost didn't see you there. Welcome to DCF Buns, where you can find the freshest buns in town, if I do say so myself. Our master bakers teach class every week. So whether you're new to baking or trying to improve your culinary skills, we got you covered. And we can help you bake the cake of your dreams. We'll even clean your cake if you want. And if you don't want to bake anything yourself, we have loads of fresh buns available in a variety of shapes and sizes. Check us out at dcfbuns.com to learn more. DCF Buns, we keep the buns hot and the deals hotter. Buns.
In every thread, in every stitch, Honor-Bound USA weaves the fabric of the American spirit. It's not just apparel, it's a testament to God, family, and country. At Honor-Bound USA, we're a family of patriots who put our faith, family, and America first. When you visit our website, you'll find a line of products that embody our commitment to pray, stand, speak, and act. As the official site for the Untamed podcast, all of our products proclaim speaking the truth with courage. We also have the powerful documentary from Professor David Clements, Let My People Go. Identify yourself as one of the few who are willing to stand for what they believe in. Join the Honor-Bound USA family today. Wear it as a badge of honor, commitment to the values that shape us, and a pledge to the bright future we will build together. Because when you're honor-bound, you're not just wearing a brand, you're embodying a lifestyle. Okay, we got you back. All right. So let's hypothetically say that it is 4.5 million, even though it's more. Let's say it's 4.5 million. We're making policy around the country, and I think one of the rubs that we have against the other, 300 million Americans is that we really don't care if you're Muslim, but don't say stuff like you're going to take over in cities and do things that they're doing to oppress other people in our community inside of our country. And you'd be hard pressed for that not to be something that's happening in places like Dearborn. Now, this isn't apologizing for what Jake says or does, because I have a lot. I learned Arabic. I have a lot of Muslim friends I still talk to that are in the Middle East. But we have to be realistic about what pressure is being put on American populations. And as Americans, we stand up and say that's just not appropriate. It's not acceptable.
Well, I mean, I would ask you, like, what do you mean is inappropriate? Like,
Well,
what's
Dearborn,
going on?
Michigan, at 5 o'clock in the morning, the prayer call comes out 6 times a day, and a church came out and said that they were going to play the bells, at certain hours for the Christian faith, and they got shut down. They were told that they could no longer do it. So you have an entire community.
Wait a minute, hold on a second. Is that real? Because
That's
look,
in Dearborn, Michigan,
I was an altar boy when I was a kid, and I had to ring the bells. I had to ring the bells constantly. I rang the bells so many times that I probably have tinnitus because of it. I'm like every neighborhood in Boston. Like you go near a church in Massachusetts, Boston, which has to be.
I'm talking about Christian churches in Dearborn, Michigan, that are trying to ring bells, and they put up speakers to ring bells, and they're being shut down.
And they're
not
not
the call to prayer.
Wait a minute. I gotta press on this.
You didn't know this? Are you serious?
No, I am serious.
I went to visit.
What authority said that they couldn't ring bells?
The town council that runs the city of Dearborn literally have shut down. I kid you not. I had a conversation with a pastor, and they have the call to prayer over loudspeakers at mosques that are all over Dearborn. Now, here's another thing that I need to tell you about this. Dearborn, 60% Muslim. 60. Heavy concentration. Do you know what the entitlement rate is of the 60% Muslims in Dearborn, Michigan that get Medicare, Medicaid, get money? Yes. Yeah.
No, I don't.
It's nearly 85%.
Right.
So they are having they have a guy, Hijab Bob. Sorry, I'm just going to say we make fun of everybody. We'll make fun of you later on the Irish side. Listen, you have a Hijab Bob, right?
Right.
Goes and has 4 houses in a row. This happens all over Dearborn. There's 4 women that live there that all say that they're single mothers with 4 or 5 children. It's one dude that has 4 wives. They're collecting entitlements per household of nearly $90,000 a year per household. Hijab Bob is doing really well. This is one of the rubs that people have, is that there's this burden on our backs. Republican, Democrat, doesn't matter. We're Americans, right? Well, we'll take care of people. But Hijab Bob is literally telling us you can't actually have anything related to the Christian faith, and call to prayer everywhere, and you can't shut down liquor stores. I mean, they're changing the entire dynamic of what used to be the industrial pinpoint of our entire nation when it came to industrial strength related to the automotive industry.
Well, I mean, I don't support any of that, and I don't live in Dearborn, so I haven't experienced any of that. But I can tell you that if you want to talk about drags on society, I have been to so many MAGA events, and I like to ask people what they do for a living, and almost always, I mean, I'm seriously a disturbing number of people. It's always, I'm on disability, I'm out of work. Like, how did you get here? How the hell? I'll tell you, I went to Clay Clark's Reawaken America tour.
I was on
outside of. Okay, I went to the one in Mount Juliet, Tennessee. So like 3 years ago or something. And I went to another one in Selma, North Carolina. But the one that I'm talking about, I went, and we had, press passes. It was me and Bobby Pickles from the Proud Boys, and we had access to the media area and all that stuff. And so after the event, they had, I think it was a Holiday Inn or whatever, they had like a meet and greet for all the speakers and anybody who wanted to go over there who had the VIP badges. And there was this couple in there that wasn't able to go into the main area. They're like in their early 20s. Told me that they drove from Indiana to get down there, right? And they ran out of money and didn't have gas or whatever. This is a white couple, nice enough people, but really young. And just to come down to this event, and I decided I wasn't going back the second day. So me and Bobby gave them our press passes and said, hey, you can go and meet all your heroes tomorrow, I guess, if you want to. And I thought, how would you spend your last dollars doing this, right? And between that and people I talk who constantly tell me they're not working, or whatever, or they got this, that. There is a lot of MAGA that's on on public assistance, a ton of it, right? And especially in rural areas in the South, right? So I could come back at you and say, hey, look, a ton of what we would call real Americans in Tennessee are on every manner of public assistance you could find.
And guess
right?
what I would tell
and
you?
you could come out,
Guess what I
you
would-
could
guess
say,
what
hey,
I
there are
would
a lot
tell
of
you.
Muslims in Dearborn who are on it.
No.
So
Guess what I
I'm
would
not sure one is
hold
worse
on,
than the other.
guess what I would tell you. How many generations do you have in this country?
Me?
Yeah. How many generations
Well,
of your family?
I'm second generation. I'm second generation American.
All right, you're second generation. Second.
My
meaning,
father was the first child born. Yeah.
Okay, so you're third generation American, right? You're great. You have one generation that came.
No, my
here.
father.
Your father was born here.
Yeah, but no. It starts with the first generation born here. That's
Okay.
my father. So I'm second. Yeah.
You're second generation born here. Okay.
Yeah. Mhm.
I'm fifth generation born here. Okay.
Yeah.
And did you were in the Navy?
Yeah.
Was your father in the military?
No, that wouldn't have worked.
Was anybody in your family in his generation a part of the military?
No. I was the only one.
So just you. Okay.
Yeah.
So let me put it in perspective for the average American. Okay. You're an American. You were born here, right? I personally, if you're born here, you served, your family served, you've accepted the ideals of this nation. And if you need help, bro, I don't care. I don't care. But when you have people that came from another country and you come here and you came here to bring nothing other than to be a boat anchor to society while telling us we're horrible people, while taking off of the bone what was never yours to take, I'm out. And I don't care if you're Muslim or if you're Jack the Ripper. I don't care. I could care less.
Yeah. I mean, in principle, I agree with you on that. It's just that I think that maybe you're painting with a bit of a broad brush, saying that there's millions of people doing that, because I don't think there are. Are there some? Of course there are. Of course there are. And they shouldn't be able to get benefits. And if you don't like being here, then leave. But I just think that it's an exaggerated version of what is reality. And I think you're being a little bit.
I'm not
unfair to
so
some people.
listen.
Look, I'm not saying you're doing it on purpose. I'm just saying I don't.
I'm saying I like math, and I'm saying that I like to. There's empirical data. I mean, look, you have to look at data, and if you look at the data of Dearborn, the number of people that are literally on assistance, federal and state assistance, and it's over 85% of that particular group or sect. That means you're taking advantage of, and you're making institutional decisions to defraud the American people, make you have to work harder. I think it's wrong.
Yeah, and like I said, I think that same stuff goes on in a lot of rural southern areas where just about everybody is toothless and has no money.
Don't care. They're Americans. Don't care.
Okay, all right, fair enough. So we're gonna just strongly disagree on that, because I think that if you're a drain on the system, I don't care where you came from, you're a drain on the system, right? It still hurts us, right? Just as much as it would. I mean. Yeah,
all right. So the toothless person, the toothless person down in Tennessee, whatever it is, I've met a whole lot of toothless people in Tennessee, but that aren't on meth or some other problem. But let's say hypothetically, say you're right. Okay.
No, but that's what they are on meth. That's the point. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of there's drug problems all over the country. I mean, our young people are being devastated by it. But let's say you're right. Okay. That toothless meth addict who's on assistance is not walking around trying to tell everyone else that they got to do the call to prayer and do all their way and, get rid of bacon. I mean, bacon's like an American staple. I'm sorry, it is.
That's where I draw the line. That's where I draw the line. You don't get rid of bacon.
But that's the reality. They're literally restaurants are not allowed to serve certain foods, right? It's not halal.
I don't think any restaurant is not allowed to serve certain foods. There's no way that there's a law in Dearborn that says that you can't serve.
Hold on. Yeah. Yes.
There's no way that's possible.
Bro, I'm telling you. And I don't know if it's a law, but they tried to restrict alcohol and shut down places to do alcohol. They literally sent out flyers to basically scarlet letter and attack, bully people in different businesses if you didn't do exactly what they said. I mean, it's crazy. And that's not just Dearborn. It's Detroit. We can talk about, parts of New York. Right? There are places where Americans are treated like outsiders in their own environment. It's just not right.
Well, I'm gonna look all this stuff up because you may have educated me, or I may find that you're exaggerating. Just
I'm not exaggerating. You will never see me exaggerate about anything. I mean, if I'm going to be hyperbolic, it's going to be about.
Well, you
saying,
just
like,
exaggerated
hijab
about not exaggerating.
I'm not. I did not. There's no exaggeration. All right, let's talk about these labels and what's happening right now holistically in, let's say, your area. You and I are pretty much the same. We have Democrat friends, Republican friends. People are yelling at me in the comments right now that I need to not have Republican or Democrat friends. But
Yeah.
let's look at let's look at the facts behind certain things. You have pro-choice and you have pro-life, right?
Mhm.
I assume you're pro-choice.
Yes.
And so I'm pro-life. But
Mhm.
if you're pro-choice, I just want to put this out there, just work with me here. It should be a choice, right? So if you have a Planned Parenthood, somebody bebops into the Planned Parenthood and they sit down and like, hey, look, I'm 4 months pregnant. I got jiggy with it. And it shows that I'm pregnant. They sit down. Shouldn't there be like, here's choice A, here's choice B?
You're talking about offering somebody the opportunity to go to like a pregnancy crisis center or something like that.
Adoption. Here are your options. Okay. Let's say there's 4 options. I don't even know what they are, but let's say there's 4 options.
Yep.
Shouldn't it be a choice?
Well, of course it should. I'm pro-choice. I don't have a problem with people being given information. As long as people aren't being bullied into one thing or the other, and that includes into having an abortion. So, no, that's reasonable to me.
So, do you think that that's what's happening right now? They're being given choices.
I think that when, without getting too personal, I can tell you I know what's going on here. No, but I know for a fact that when you go into, Planned Parenthood in that situation, that you're given the information that you ask for. You're not given information you didn't ask for. Right now, if you want to make a law, or if you, well, it is a choice because you're a grown person. You can find information anywhere. You don't have to be presented with it like you're a child. You know what I mean? So if you go into Planned Parenthood with the intention of having an abortion, I don't think too many women go into Planned Parenthood and have an abortion and are questioning whether they really want to do it on the way. They've made a decision. That's how you ended up on the front door, right? So I don't think that like giving someone a pamphlet about a crisis pregnancy center down the street is going to change anybody's mind. But if that, if you think that literature or, information should be provided, I don't really care. I mean, that's like not going to bother me. But, is that what you're saying, that they should provide information about like adoption and like all the potential options by law? Or I believe they should do it because it's the right thing to do.
That you're not pro-choice if you only offer one option. That's not pro-choice. That's pro-I've chosen. And in multiple states, and this is a conversation I think needs to happen on the academic side. And by the way, you're talking to a guy that paid for an abortion. I live with that for nearly 20 years.
No.
It was convenient for me, right? And I live with that, and it crushes my heart, right? Because, I have 2 beautiful children. And the fact that I did that out of convenience, I find disturbing for myself. And I got to live with that. I got to live with the outcome of that, right? So I'm not saying this because I'm judging anyone. I'm saying that, that in states that they get out there and they stand on these high horses, and we have this rhetoric that gets created on both sides that is dangerous. And one of the dangers are you have people that stand in front of abortion clinics saying there is a choice. That here, let me show you what your baby is a baby. That there should be the ability for there to be a choice, that here's your 4 options, and there just isn't.
I mean, but Planned Parenthood doesn't do the other thing. Like that's part of what they provide. So like, I don't mean to be, I know I'm going to get people, the comments will go crazy over this, but just hear me out. It's kind of funny, but it shouldn't. I know it's a heavy topic, but if I go into a pizza place with the intent of ordering pizza, they should not be required to tell me that I can get a chicken sandwich down the street. All right. They don't sell chicken sandwiches in there. They sell pizza. That's what they do. Right. So like, I don't think that Planned Parenthood should be responsible to tell people, like by law anyway, that, hey, you don't have to do this. I think if somebody wants to suggest, hey, there are other options. That's fine. I don't have a problem with that.
Hold on.
But
Say
it's
say
not.
the
It
words
shouldn't be
with me
their
again.
job to. Okay.
Say the words with me. Planned Parenthood. Right? What?
Yeah.
So it's Planned Parenthood. So you're planning parenthood. So what they're doing is
Well, it's
planning to
obviously
kill a baby.
dumb name, but
But you
Well,
see what
look.
happens? You have people that show up
Yeah.
to Planned Parenthood says, hey, look, I don't want to be institutionally poor. Right? Most people get abortions because of the economic
because they
hardship.
can't afford. Yeah.
Right. And 56 cents on every dollar goes to the government. And, you know, you and I had this conversation. The reason I'm bringing this up is that the last time you and I were on here, you're like, I don't want to bring a kid into this world. It's too screwed up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
I've had that conversation with my wife many times.
And yet I think you'd be an amazing dad.
You're assuming a whole lot.
I may be assuming a whole lot, but I'm assuming it based on the fact that you have common sense. And we've had this conversation before. So I bring it up because you can't.
I think a lot of people are cut out for it, and God bless them, and they should do it. I mean, we have to reproduce before we go extinct. But I am not one of those guys, and we're happy with the decision we made. And but it's not for everybody. That's the thing. So I hear what you're saying about you should have a choice and being pro-choice. There's obviously more than one choice. I just think when you're in the environment in Planned Parenthood, nobody gets in there questioning whether they're going to do it or not. They've already made the decision before they get in the building. So at that point, I don't really think that it's important. And I can tell you as someone who went through the same situation that you just talked about, the worst is when you've got, really, really nasty protesters outside shouting at poor women who were having the worst day of their life at the time. And, they have a right to protest, and I would defend their right to protest. I've always defended the worst protesters when the Klan marched in Skokie, Illinois in the 80s, it was before I was able to, understand, but they had the right to do that. And the ACLU stood up for them, and there was a Jewish lawyer who stood up for them and represented them. And, when the worst people, the Westboro Baptist Church, who I think probably have to be the worst human beings on the face of the planet, when they would go protest soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines funerals with signs that said "God hates fags" and all this other stuff, they had a right to do that. Even though I would like to choke every single one of them to death, they had a right to do it. So I don't want to stop people from protesting at Planned Parenthood. I just wish people would do it in a way that wasn't so nasty to the women who are having the worst days of their life.
Yeah, I think I will just say this. I think from my perspective that, I just brought up the fact of like Planned Parenthood, or how about the Affordable Care Act? Is it affordable?
Well, it's
up
more
2,500%. It is not.
Well,
more
yeah,
affordable.
look,
it's not true.
Well, I don't think we need to get, that's kind of a boring topic.
That's why we're having the conversation, though. I want to go. These are
Do you
the
want
things,
to talk about the Affordable Care Act? Because we can if you want, but
look, I got to tell you, by the way,
kind of a dead topic.
It's not, though, because people they're not getting the care that they need. I have 3 friends with cancer, 2 of them that don't have insurance. They don't have insurance. They basically, they lost their jobs, so they lost their insurance, and they stepped in to say Medicaid's going to take care of it. They didn't. It didn't take care of the.
So far, we've talked about racism.
Yeah.
Racism, abortion, and cancer. Do you want to talk about like AIDS next or something?
Please don't.
Can we get any more depressing?
No, but I want to get, so the way that I had it written in for me, as far as the things I want to talk to you about, is that we're not that far apart, right? We both have bled and gone through the same things. We've had the same experiences, and frankly, I know it has the same pain associated with those decisions, right? In different ways, right? And no, you do want to protect the couple that showed up that spent their last dollar getting to a Clay Clark event, and you're like, here's our badges. You didn't have to do that. You could have been like, what the hell is wrong with you, right? You should have done everything.
I was thinking, what the hell's wrong with you?
But you didn't act that way, right?
Yeah.
And we get to these places where we talk about being kind, and the left is not kind. And yet some people on the right are not kind. Sometimes I'm not kind.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I guess the thing that I'm trying to get to is I sat in a room with 11 people. These are just all friends of mine. I invited them in the room. We sat down. We drank a couple beers. I quit drinking, so I wasn't drinking any beer. But I was drinking a Diet Coke. They were drinking beer. So we're sitting there having a conversation, and I didn't tell anybody who everyone else was.
Mm-hmm.
And they're all strong people. 9 of the 11 are from the East Coast. And so we're sitting, you know, that's not going to end well when three out of the 9 are lefties.
You mixed them up.
Right?
Yeah.
I just wanted to see. It was like putting ants in a thing and shaking it and seeing if they were going to kill each other.
You're running a social experiment with your friends. What a dick.
It was a dickish thing to do. But they also knew me. So then they're like, oh, I see what happened here. And I was like, man, you would really like Rod. He's a good dude. He's like, that guy's an asshole. Like what? He likes Biden? I was like, yeah, that's the most retarded thing about him. But he's also a physician and he does some pretty cool stuff.
That's funny. So did you want to talk about, I was wondering if you wanted to talk about Iran, because you having experience in the Middle East and you know, I was wondering, because I haven't heard your opinion on what's going on there, and I'm curious to know.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Somebody just said the Diet Coke will kill me too. It might kill me, but it's not going to make me pack on pounds like alcohol does. It's like a walking sieve. You got to work out on the treadmill twice as hard. Yeah. So let's talk about Iran. I've been to Iran. I have spent a lot of time working or studying foreign policy in Iran. Even dating back to the early days of 2008, 9, 10, 11, when Obama, tried to create some sort of semblance of, self-determination, giving them access to nuclear weaponry, which was, that was the big rub back then. But we created that. We created Iran. Like we went in there in 1979 and screwed it all up. It was the CIA that did it. Like, so all the people that are dying and all the problems that we're having right now is because we're a bunch of assholes that allow the intelligence community to go out there and wreak havoc on other nations. And we've killed more people in this country. Our foreign policy has killed more people by the intelligence community than has ever died in World War II. I believe that, since that's what I believe.
Yeah, I mean, we'll never know, but it's possible. I wouldn't doubt it. The thing that drives me up the walls about this is that I'm hearing the same old neocon arguments from people on Fox News, guys like Sean Hannity and Laura Ingraham, and even Bill O'Reilly. Like, I know nobody watches his stuff anymore, but I did accidentally.
Videos.
Yeah, I came across one of his little. That guy is way past his expiration date, by the way. I think he expired before Mitch McConnell did, and frankly, but he's talking about how, well, I was wrong about Iraq and I regret that, but we need to be in Iran. And I'm like, obviously you didn't get that. You learned nothing from your neocon nonsense in the early 2000s. And as somebody who was on the ship that fired the first missiles of the Iraq War, when I was in the Navy as a journalist, I remember thinking at the time, like, this is the stupidest idea we've ever had in this country since Vietnam. And, you don't say that out loud when you're in, because you can't do that. But, and I did my job, and I shot the photos and shot the video and whatever. I was proud of the work that I did, but not proud of what we were doing, because it was obviously going to be a train wreck. And we can see that this is even worse, because people may not understand. A lot of people may not understand. You have a very educated audience, so I'm sure they get it. But the Persian culture is ancient, and it is very proud. It is not Iraq, okay? It's not the same place. They're not just going to give up. They're not just going to fade into the background.
They've
and
never
take
been
pot
defeated.
shots at soldiers. No, and
in 4,000 years, they've never been defeated.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, if the U.S. military decided to go in, if we sent ground troops in and do it, we would overwhelm them. But we'd lose more than it's worth, like way more than it's worth, right? So we're not going to do that. I don't even believe that, as much as I dislike Trump and think he's an imbecile, I don't think that he's crazy enough to do that, right? I really don't think we're going to have boots on the ground. I think he's looking for an off-ramp, but we shouldn't need an off-ramp, because we shouldn't have got on it in the first place. We should have left this alone, They were not close to having a nuclear weapon. This is Bibi Netanyahu manipulating Donald Trump because he's easily manipulated by, stroking his ego and telling him that, hey, you're going to be looked back in history as a great man who did a great thing if you go in and kill the Ayatollah. And he got suckered into it because he's a sucker. So Netanyahu is a lot smarter than he is, and we know that now. I mean, if we didn't already. So no, we just need to get out, and we can get out just by walking away. I mean, it's not too late to just walk away from this, make up some excuse for, call it victory and go home. And that's it. And get all those sailors who have been on the Gerald Ford for almost 400 days now, which is not acceptable, get them back home.
Well, I have a friend whose daughter is on that Gerald Ford that's out there.
That's totally nuts. Totally nuts, man. I can't even imagine having to do that.
Reset your camera again. It just shot down.
Oh my God.
But let me give you my perspective of this part. First of all, I think committing U.S. troops to the ground in Iran would be not just a huge mistake, it'd be one of the most fatal things that we'd ever do, regardless of who you were as president. I also want to tell you this. I don't like Bibi Netanyahu. I think he's diabolical. I don't think the guy's a really good person at all. I don't have that same feeling about President Trump. I think when you're in the middle of, and I think if he's a person that takes from history what history will give him. And if you look at history, you have an entire, it's filled with Judases and Brutuses. It's filled with all these different people who have their own things in mind for what an outcome looks like. And in part, you're talking about Bibi Netanyahu. He's not a man of great faith. Let's say that.
He's a scumbag. That's what he is. I don't think we need to sugarcoat it.
Yeah. So
warmonger.
But I don't. But
he's a straight version of Lindsey Graham.
But there's a lot. Yeah. There's a lot of warmongers out there. There's a lot. And frankly, it's hard for us to kind of fish through the political schema of what is happening in Iran. Like, what is it we're truly trying to accomplish? I don't think anyone has articulated it. We don't want them to have nuclear weapons. No. So he just blew the shit out of it. Just give it another 30. It's going to take him 30 years to do it again. Just keep going in there and dropping like mobs on everything, and away you go, right? And it keeps the civilian population out of harm's way, and allows for you to have tactical foreign policy. That's what I think. Now, the other side of me says that there's a victim mentality based on World War II that has created a frenzy and an excuse for victimology to happen inside of Israel. And it was created by the Rothschilds in the 1940s. It was not created by God's mandate. So there was no Abraham that walked down and said, God said, let's have this country. And if you look historically at the area, you have two types of history that have been created for Jews. And I got to tell you, I'm a Jewish Christian. So I don't have, I've been called an anti-Semite, I've been called a racist, I've been called a homophobe, I've been called all sorts of stuff. I think the only thing that's true about any of the phobes is that I'm a stupid phobe. I hate stupid people, right? And there's a lot of them. But when we look at Iran, I don't think the juice is worth the squeeze, as you were saying. The juice is worth the squeeze to put us in a place where we put American lives on the line. We've already given too much. We give up much in taxes. We give up too much in entitlements. We give too much to people that don't belong in our country, that won't assimilate. And I think that we're done having it. And whether we finish it in Iran and we bomb a few more places, they truly are cockroaches. And I don't mean that by a negative sense, but a positive sense. They could survive a nuclear holocaust and come out and eat your brains in the middle of the night. I truly believe that's the type of people they are, frankly.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I think what's really interesting about this whole thing is that the Trump coalition, two elements, there are many more, but two elements of the Trump coalition that got him elected twice, or as you would say, 3 times, but twice in reality. He was able to pull like hardcore anti-Semites like Nick Fuentes in, who I think we know is an anti-Semite, right? There's no doubt about that, right? And then, people like maybe Tucker Carlson, who you might quibble about whether he's an anti-Semite or not, but there is a significant group of anti-Semites who love Trump. And then there's the Christian Zionists who love Trump. Now, in a normal political reality, those two groups could not possibly coexist. They would not vote for the same candidate. They wouldn't even be in the same party. But because they have a mutual hatred of like liberals and liberal policies, they were kind of like, just crushed into this little weird ball of crazy. And now they have a problem because the Christian Zionists, like guys like Mike Huckabee, Pastor John Hagee, a lot of the real wackos on the religious right, they love the idea that we're starting a war that we're in a war with Iran because they think it's somehow going to bring about the apocalypse and we'll build a third temple and the events of Revelation can take place, right? Whereas the anti-Semites are saying, well, this is just shows that the Jews control the world, and Netanyahu bossed Trump into doing this. So it's an interesting dichotomy. It's an interesting clash, I think, of people within his own coalition. If he had to run for office again, I think it would be a real problem. Because he doesn't, I think it might not be that big a deal. But I'm so interested in the whole Christian Zionist thing and the fact that evangelicals in America have this weird Israel fetish. Not all of them, but a lot of them do, especially the megachurch pastors who erroneously believe that the Israel of the Bible, of the Hebrew Bible, is the political state of Israel today, which is not right. That's just wrong. That's ridiculous. Israel is a political state today. The Israel of the Bible, you're talking about the body of Christ and all this is a different thing. So I find it fascinating how people can believe some of that crazy junk.
Yeah. So let me, I think that we have a lot of common ground in what you're saying. But I study history, right? I understand the history, and I don't look at it just from the books that I can get out of the library right down on Park Avenue in the middle of the city. Like there's a history in the United States, and there's a history that's told in multiple other nations, and I think you have to look at both. Because they tell a revisionist history in our own country that favors us, and then we go to other countries that has a much more truthful or sinister view of some of the things that have happened. But if we look at Iran, the one thing that I always say is that I got to stand for humanity. And although I recognize that it takes force in order to destroy evil, Team Evil is hiding behind women and children, and that's another thing that I have an innate problem with, because we don't take care of our own problem in our own country. And as we're firing rockets, I have two things that I want to bring that together with some of the stuff that there are some videos about presidents and leaders and how traitors and selected leaders surround good people, right? So they use good people in order to create an outcome, right? So I'd like to play this. Let's go ahead and play this if we can.
Hillary.
Demonic.
Bush Sr.
Complicated, yet very, very popular at the CIA.
Bush Jr.
Not bright at all, and one of the weakest presidents in my lifetime.
Barack Obama.
Criminal.
Trump.
No comment.
JFK.
One of the greatest presidents in American history. If he had been able to actually survive, the entire face of the world would be different today.
Agreed. Dr. Gerald Post.
One of my personal heroes. Recruited me into the CIA and wanted only the best for me.
Andrew Bustamante.
Ooh.
Not important enough to even bother commenting on.
Former CIA Director Gina Haspel.
Bloody Gina Haspel, a war criminal.
Former CIA Director John Brennan.
The worst of all of the criminals. He deserves to be in prison for a very long time. And if all goes well, that's exactly where he'll end his life.
Abu Zubaydah.
Poor Abu Zubaydah.
Abu Zubaydah.
Yes. Abbas Bader should be free and living with his family today.
He's still in Guantanamo.
Still in Guantanamo.
Is he in isolation?
I mean, they're all in relative isolation. They're in cages.
What are your thoughts?
Just hearing people, who have a big audience and a platform talk about other people that way, just, flippant. Look, I'm not a fan of the CIA, and I'm not I don't like John Brennan or Gina Haspel or really any of the people that were mentioned in there. But calling people demonic, I think that's something we got to knock off because it's ridiculous. I don't think that's how grown people should talk. You want to say that somebody's, a bad person, they've got, lousy policies, you want to call them an asshole. Okay. But this demon thing's got to stop. And I'm not going to trust somebody that guy's a former CIA agent, right?
Yes, he is.
Yeah. So, I forget his name, but I know his face. And so, I don't trust anybody in the CIA to tell me anything, I mean, I don't think that's a crazy opinion. Those people,
it's John Kerry.
That's who right. Those people lie for a living, and they don't get into the CIA unless they're good at it. So I don't know, and I don't put a lot of stock into stuff like that.
But he is talking about how the bacon's cooked, right? He's talking about how the sausage is made, and he talked about things that we can see in our foreign policy that has created problems, right?
Yeah, but I think calling that, also he's got kind of an obviously, politically skewed kind of version of things because, calling George H.W. Bush complicated instead of what he was, which is, a director of the CIA who was duplicitous and I think a really bad president, he's clearly got a political bent, and that's fine. He can have that. But
he said that JFK was would have been one of the most.
Yeah, but that's universally accepted among Republicans now. They all say, well, if he was alive today, he'd be a Republican. They all love him.
I've never said that he'd be a Republican. Blue blood Democrat.
No, but lots of people have. I mean, I hear it all the time when I talk to people.
Well, that's JFK retarded people. JFK was 100% fundamentally a Democrat, not a socialist.
Well, he
Democrat.
was.
He was a
but
Democrat.
what they're saying is that the Democratic Party of those days is so far different than today that he would be a Republican if he were alive today. I don't buy that either, but that's
not true. I mean, fundamentally,
I agree with
the tenets of both parties have not changed in 100 years, right? The fact that most people are too retarded to understand what the tenets are, I think is actually more accurate. Yeah. Right? I mean, I mean, if you go back, I'm sorry, 1911. Go back to 1909, 1911, 1913, and you have a fundamental change in this country that happened. But the Democrats and Republicans were pretty much put on ice. I mean, they were both. It's like two football teams. What's happening? I want to bring this back to what's happening in Iran, because each one of those presidents, each one of those people we talked about, had a fundamental way of dealing with Iran. One gave money to them, enabled them, allowed them to build out nuclear weapons, and the other one was diabolically opposed to letting them have anything. Well, if the Iranians, and this is a question I'm going to ask you about Iran, if Iranians or the Iran regime, the Ayatollah, Khomeini, whoever we're talking about, if they truly will fight to the bitter end till death, then why would you want to give them a nuclear weapon when, frankly, they don't care if they die?
Well, I don't think we have to give them a nuclear weapon, and we don't have to invade them either. There are ways to deal with it without. Look, they haven't been able to build one in 47 years. We degraded their ability to do it. I don't even really have a big problem with them. The previous year, it was last June, bombing nuclear sites. We were told that, hey, we obliterated their nuclear program. So good, knock yourself. Cool. I don't have a problem with that. If they're working on nuclear weapons and they get blown up, too bad. You can't do that. But you can't say we've obliterated the nuclear program and then justify bombing them again, months later, saying we need to obliterate their nuclear program. You're either lying then or you're lying now. But either way, you're being dishonest, and I don't like it. So if we have to go and every few years physically degrade their nuclear facilities, Okay, but that's not going to require boots on the ground, and it's not going to precipitate a closing of the Strait of Hormuz. Not likely. And we can just move on with our business, and no American is going to be, is going to benefit from us constantly getting into military conflict with Iran. So this was just ham-handed the whole way. But like I said, it's not over, and we can walk away from it if we just decide to do that. And I hope that he does, because I don't root for, as much as I can't stand the man, I'm rooting for the country, not against Trump. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so I want to give you a little bit of foreign policy knowledge that maybe you didn't know, and that is that Iran had held the Strait of Hormuz as ransom, and got paid a vig for any ship that went through that shipping path, and they acted almost as if they were pirates, right? You go through, you don't pay us a vig, you don't get through. So they were able to change the shipping lane to run in the opposite direction. And when they opened up the Strait of Hormuz, now Iran has no claim to that area because it doesn't go into that shipping lane. It goes through a shipping lane that historically existed nearly 70, 80 years ago. So, I mean, there's things to be said for what Iran has done that has been terroristic on commerce. Now, I'm not sure it's saying that that's a reason why you do the things they do. And then you'd have to also look at the connections with the Bank of London and the fact that there has been a cartel that has held us hostage as Americans and other people around. I mean, there's a central, would you agree there's a central group of people in the world that pass down from generation to generation the ability to control the entire world?
Yeah, I mean, look, I believe that there are a lot of rich scumbags who and corporations who control way too much of what we're allowed to do in this world, and oppress people. Obviously, that's true. I just think in this particular case, we stirred up a hornet's nest we didn't need to, and now we need an off ramp. We need a way out of it, and we don't need any more Americans dying. We don't need we don't need our bases being hit in Bahrain or in Oman or anywhere, and we can't avoid it if we just, like I said, walk away. I hate to make it that simple because I know that foreign policy is more complicated than that, but the end result needs to be we get out. We stop doing what we're doing because it's not helping anybody. I don't think anybody likes paying, what they're paying at the pump right now. And that shouldn't be the only reason, the only motivation to get out of there, but it's a pretty good one. So yeah, I think this was a bad idea. I don't even think you think this was a good idea, do you?
It wouldn't have been. I mean, this is where, I mean, I'm pretty focused on our elections and the fact that
President Oltmann would not have done this.
No, I wouldn't have. It would have been my. Right. I would have done things differently. I probably would have gone in and tried a diplomatic deal. I probably would have bombed them for having the nuclear weapons and the new nuclear capabilities. I probably would have dropped those bombs. I would have done what he started to do, which is have a zero tolerance for terroristic behavior and activity. And then I would have gotten back to domestic policy and done the things to secure our elections and to take out really bad people. And I would have forced a different change in the DOJ to make sure that we were addressing the fact that machines and mail-in ballots in our election systems are absolutely fraudulent. And then I would have looked at the judicial coup that is obvious, 194 different overturnings of President Trump's decisions from the judiciary that I find offensive. They're not, the judiciary does not run this country. The president runs this country. And the fact that the judiciary can do what it's done.
Co-equal branches, it's the fundamental principle of our Constitution is that the president does not run this country.
That's not what
the president does not run the country.
Congress has authority over the president. The judiciary does not have authority over the president. Period.
So the Marbury versus Madison thing you think was decided incorrectly?
Hold on a second. It's not even the Marbury versus Madison. You have to look at other case law. We want to go to the case law that people harp and parrot. There's multiple case laws out there that go back to the 1800s that show that the president is the executor. He is the CEO of our country. And if he makes decisions to do something, you cannot have a judge that was put on the bench come in and unilaterally make a decision that I don't like that, right? That is not fundamentally how this country was ever run, and that's not what
any judge is saying. They're saying that this is unconstitutional, And that is their job to decide whether
No, they're
a law
not saying it's
or an
unconstitutional.
executive order.
All right.
Yeah, I think, frankly,
hold on
that
a
is
second.
what they've said
Time
every
out.
single time.
There was a mandate that protected, it basically was signed, an executive order by Biden that allowed for protections for Haitian and Somali immigrants to come into the country. It was an executive order. It expired in October of 2025, correct?
Mhm.
All right.
Yeah.
All President Trump didn't do is renew it. He let it expire. And the judge came out and said, I'm not going to let it expire. That is a fundamental.
And that's going to go to the Supreme Court. We both know that.
It shouldn't have to.
Okay, well, that's fine. You can think that judge is wrong, and maybe we'll find out that the Supreme Court thinks the same way that you do. I don't,
How does the judge have
I understand
judicial
both arguments
authority?
on it. A federal judge by statute has the right to do that. Now, they can get overturned, and probably will, because if that goes to the Supreme Court, I don't think there's a chance in hell that it doesn't get reversed. So it's got to play through. This is one of the things about a democratic republic like ours, is that it's messy and it takes too long and things go wrong and have to be corrected. But eventually, sometimes way too tediously, it gets fixed. So that's just going to be something that's going to have to play through the courts, man. I mean, a different judge might have made a different decision and we wouldn't be talking about it right now, but it went that way. Maybe, if I were a betting man, I would say that that's going to get reversed. So,
Well,
we'll see.
I mean, yeah. Well, I mean, fundamentally, I think that we have gotten away from common sense, right? And
well, I agree with you.
Well, I mean, and I'll use this as an example. I'm going to play this for you, and you tell me. They won't even release the judge's name in this particular case, or the DA. So they're saying that they won't say who the ADA was. They won't say who the judge is in this case. I want to play this for you. It's just 13 seconds long. I want you to see this. Go ahead and play it. This is an illegal that is stabbing a man to death. Wayne Broadhurst. Now, you just saw that video. Did that look like manslaughter? Like an accident? Oh, I accidentally slipped.
No, that looks like first-degree murder. That's what that is.
The man that was killed, this guy was an illegal, and the judge in this case had him plead guilty to manslaughter. Gave him 6 years.
Well, obviously the DA's office had to approve that. I mean, a judge can't decide what you plead to. It's you got to get offered something. So whoever was the DA in that, wherever that was, needs to be stabbed. No, fired.
All right. Well, let's look at this. This is a different state. This is in California. Let's go ahead and play C4. C4.
Now take a look. This is exclusive dash cam video that is now the subject of several law enforcement investigations. Shows the moment a red semi-truck plowed into a number of vehicles on the westbound 10 freeway in Ontario just after 1 p.m. yesterday. The CHP told the LA Times the driver of this big rig is a 21-year-old man who is now under arrest on suspicion of driving under the influence of drugs. A total of 4 semis were involved and also 4 passenger vehicles, one of them exploding in flames. 3 people were killed and 4 others were taken to local hospitals. This horrific crash happened just east of the 15 freeway and shut down all westbound lanes for more than 12 hours.
What do you think of that guy?
Oh, I think he should be in jail for the rest of his life. I mean,
what do you think they gave that guy?
Not that, I guess, right? Or you wouldn't
5
be showing
years.
it to me.
5 years.
Yeah, that's insane. I mean,
high on drugs came here.
I don't know why you would. I don't know why you would want me to defend that or think that I would, because it's indefensible.
This is not about defense at all. Having you on here is more of I want people to have like an aha moment. That most of America has an ideal that they stand up for. They think that this is reprehensible. And yet the judicial coup that's happening in our country is putting these freaks back on the street, right? These are illegals, by the way. But Americans like Tina Peters gets 9.5 years for digging into election fraud. It's just wrong.
Oh, you want to talk about Tina Peters? Because I have an opinion on that I think you might like to hear.
I got one more video, and then we'll talk about Tina Peters.
Okay.
How about this one? Let's put up post 5 real quick, and let's play the video post 6. Let's play just play cut 6.
Impeachment resolution now filed against the foreign-born dual citizen judge called Sparkle Suknanan, who came into America and decided overnight that she's going to tell us about our Constitution and about electoral integrity and about democracy in America, while she has, so far as we know, never renounced her citizenship to her home country. Isn't that something? So now we see a brand new attempt to remove her. We've seen some other efforts like this. And we want accountability for our judges. This is Congress's check and balance. The president cannot remove the judges. The people cannot remove the judges. We know the Supreme Court won't do anything to any of them or reprimand them at all because an internal reprimand from SCOTUS down below creates internal problems and legitimacy concerns for the public at large. So it is up to Congress to handle this. They have been so weak and ineffective over our lifetime that they've delegated their powers to independent agencies, and they've let the judiciary turn into this cancerous hellscape that is in control of the nation. So now, Sparkle Suknanan, who you see right here, who was born in San Fernando, Trinidad and Tobago, to parents of Indian descent, who came over here and was appointed by Joe Biden amongst a huge tranche of judges who are all foreign-born, like Amir Ali, who's born in Canada, and Chutkin from Jamaica, and many others, all now taking over the American system of governance.
Dual citizen, federal judge.
Yeah, I have a problem with that. Not irrespective of the decision that everyone's upset about. I don't think that anybody in Congress, anybody who holds public office, should have dual citizenship. No, I don't care what country it is, right? And that includes Israel. Okay, so there are people. Does Randy Fine have dual citizenship? Is he the one in Congress who does have citizenship in Israel? He might be.
There, you know, a bunch of them do.
Yeah. So I have a problem with that, no matter what country it is. I don't think that should be legal. I actually, as much as I absolutely detest Ted Cruz, he did, when he was running for president, renounce his Canadian citizenship because he was a dual citizen. And I thought that was the right thing to do. I didn't think, do I really think it's a big deal if somebody has dual citizenship with Canada? Probably not. But the principle should be the principle regardless. It's obviously would be different if it was China but I think we should just apply one standard across the board and say, if you want to serve in public office in this country, you have to pick, and I don't think that's unreasonable. So, and I don't think that somebody who wanted to be a federal judge someday would probably not have a problem go ahead and do that. You know what I mean? I don't think that would have been a sticking point. She probably would have just renounced her citizenship if that were the law. But it's not. So maybe we should pass one.
So Randy Fine, by the way, was the one that introduced the disqualifying dual loyalty act. And he was the one that wanted to ban the ability to have multiple.
Oh, okay. All right. See, well,
So
I'm glad
quite
I
the
didn't.
opposite.
Yeah. All right. Yeah.
So he, he's out of Florida, and he's done an amazing job. In my opinion, he's done an amazing job, but that's just my opinion.
There's somebody, I can't remember who it was, who actually wore an IDF uniform in DC, whatever, who was in Congress, and I can't remember the name. And but yeah, I just thought some of it gets really ridiculous.
Yeah. So let me. There's no list of how many people have Jewish citizenships, but here I'm going to put this up here. I think this is really important stuff. From an overrepresentation standpoint, there's a lot of Jewish people in Congress. A lot. So there's that. let's talk about let's and I don't actually care, by the way. I don't care if you're Muslim and you're in Congress. I could care less. Just don't play for Team Evil and actually protect the American people. Now, last subject we'll talk about, since you want to bring it up, Tina Peters. Go ahead and tell me your thoughts on Tina Peters. Be careful, because I paid her to salary while she was in, and I am Team Tina Peters all the way. So
I know
try not to be offensive.
No, okay. I don't think that any of this will be offensive. So I thought that, I've always thought that we put people in prison for longer than they should be in a lot of cases, and not as long as they should be in a lot of other cases, right?
Right.
So when it comes to adjudicating violent crime, I think, a lot of people get out when they shouldn't be. But giving a woman, I always try to err on the side of caution when it comes to giving out these big sentences. Giving I think she was 70 when she was convicted or something like I don't
69.
60. Okay. Giving someone like that a sentence of 9 years for a nonviolent crime is beyond stupid. And I think it was right to commute it. I'm not saying she wasn't guilty. She was convicted, right? By a jury of her peers. I know you don't agree with that. We don't need to adjudicate the whole thing because we're not going to agree on it. But where we do agree is the fact that putting a 69 or 70-year-old woman in jail for 9 years for a nonviolent crime is I mean, I don't even know why we have to have a discussion about that, about how stupid it is. So I thought the Democratic governor of Colorado did the right thing, even though he knew he was going to get, you got to admit, he was going to get blowback on that. And he did. And I think that it shows a level of empathy and a level of just common decency that you say, we're not going to put this woman in jail for any longer than she's already been in there for. She did the time that was, she did more time than she probably should have done at all. And I know you don't think she should have done any, but it's right that she's out. And, since it's a commutation and not a pardon, right? She doesn't have to, she can come out and say, I didn't do anything wrong and still be free. She didn't admit to wrongdoing. She doesn't think she did anything wrong. Okay, fine. Fair enough. But, when I heard it, all my liberal friends' heads exploded. And I was like, no, I think that's the right thing.
Well, I think anyone with common sense would think that it's the right thing to do, right? Just to have compassion. You can't have selective compassion for people in different countries and not have compassion for your own American brothers and sisters. So that leads me to the elections. You and I have talked about this before. What do you think happens on Thursday? President Trump's going to come out. There's going to be an announcement. You think it's going to be a nothing burger? You think it's going to where on the scale are you of Thursday is going to be historic all the way down to I would rather watch the Conor McGregor fight over and over again on slow play.
Nobody wants to watch that. No, I think what a disaster. Look, if I've learned one thing over the last, what is it, 11 years now of Trump being in politics, don't try and predict what he's going to do. I have no idea what's going to happen on Thursday. We hear rumors in the press, and some of those are like intentional leaks from the White House, and some of them maybe aren't. I know he said he was going to talk a little bit about election integrity and bring some evidence or whatever, but he could change his mind and spend the whole time talking about Iran. So your guess is as good as mine. I definitely wouldn't mess around in the any of the betting markets on that. We'll see what happens. I'm going to watch, obviously, but I can't even opine about that because I'll be wrong.
All right. Well, look, it was fun to have you on today. If anything, I think that we got to reignite the American spirit. We are going towards a rebellion. We are heading towards a kinetic fight. I truly believe that. But I think that we have a pretty good take on who the enemies of the people are, and it's not our neighbors, frankly. At least not most.
No, it's really just you. Just you. That's it. It's just you. Thanks for having me on, Joe. I really appreciate it. This is fun.
How do people follow you?
And you really don't. I kind of quit social media, so don't.
You did?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not doing it enough to where I want people to additionally follow me and stuff. I'm good, man. I've had enough.
You're just kind of stepping away.
I like having these conversations. I like
Yeah.
having these conversations, and I'll do some pods with people that I actually like, and
Yeah.
that I think will have a productive conversation. But as far as like looking for people to follow me on X or Instagram or something, that's pretty much just like my family and friends, and I'm going to keep it to that. Don't bother following me. You wouldn't like it anyway. Trust me, it's very boring. It's not exciting. It's just a pain in the ass. So you're just going to watch me post videos of 1980s baseball games and stuff. So,
Well, that's pretty boring. I agree with that fully.
yeah, agree to disagree.
It's great having you on, brother. It's good to see you.
All right, thanks, Joe. Appreciate it.
All right, take care. You know, we go through perspective and we look at kind of the things that separate us. And there's the things that separate us and the things that bring us together. And I think more things bring us together than push us apart. We forget about those things. And I'm not under, you know, as I sit here saying we have one day away, President Trump's going to get on the stage, he's going to talk about these things, and that it's big, and you have people in the White House saying it's big. It's only as big as the softening that they try to create. Imagine being backed up for, like, I'm going to say something that's kind of crude, but imagine being backed up, like your plumbing's backed up in your body and you've been constipated for like a year. And so they put stool softeners in it, and you know that it's going to just be, but they just go way too far, and then all of a sudden everything clears up, and it's like it never ever happened before. Somewhere between, we're going to get hit with a powerful punch, and we're finally going to get justice, and we're going to be woefully disappointed because, again, those people will not be arrested, will face any consequences. So I think something's about to happen. You definitely can see some of the reaction that's out there related to the stealing of elections. You see the Mockingbird media that keeps talking. But, you know, I'm pessimistically optimistic, and I remember those two words, but God. It's his world. It's his pathway, and we just have to have faith and make sure that we walk that faith. Lastly, I put out a 7-minute clip. So I'm going to pray us out, and I'll let you listen to a 7-minute clip that I put out there on Facebook and other places. And this really is just a reminder of me basically saying the quiet part out loud. And matter of fact, I said on one of the socials that I put it out on is that I'm really just trying to talk to you about the quiet part out loud. We're in a crazy environment, but we're all slaves. Black, white, green, yellow, purple. I think one of the reasons why they're creating all of this nonsense that we're having to deal with right now is because, you know, frankly, it's nonsense. I put it in the thing for you guys just now. And we can see it. 56 cents on every dollar. We just talked to him about, you know, let's walk through even what Planned Parenthood is. Planned Parenthood. You say Planned Parenthood. Well, it's not Planned Parenthood. It's planned death. Planned murder. It's planned kill the baby. And, you know, and Patrick agreed, by the way, that the reason why most people don't have babies is because it creates a financial hardship. Imagine that. You're not having a baby, not because you don't want the baby, because 99% of the time it's if you knew that you could actually survive it, but you can't. Because regulations have made it almost unaffordable just to have daycare. You go to work and everything that you make goes towards daycare. And the government can't balance their budget at all because they're too busy feeding their face. And there's no consequences for them not. Yeah, we're in real trouble. We're in real trouble. So let's pray it out. Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Pandora, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, and more. We are everywhere. If you're on Roku and you're watching it, drop me a line. Just Joe at Untamed Nation. Let me know how that experience is going on Roku. I see that more and more people are flocking over there to watch it on the big screen. So I do appreciate all of the support. You can follow us, obviously, at the bottom at Joe Oltmann on any of the things, and at Joe Oltmann on Truth Social as well. So let's pray it out. Father God, we're grateful for Patrick. We're grateful for this beautiful country that for 250 years has mostly been blessed in such a way that we're just uniquely different than every other country. Father, we are the most forgiving group of people. We are the most generous group of people. And yet we come from such diverse backgrounds. But the lies of the devil have tried to take over and create a victimology that makes us all question where we are, how we are, who's bad, who's good. And yet we can see bad for what it is, upfront and personal. And that these evil, weak leaders have taken from us what was never theirs to take, and have pushed us into a hole where we have to question the very identity of the people that sit next to us. We have to pick sides. So, Father, I just ask that you give us the courage and give us the ability, give us the wisdom to pick your side. And not a political side, but doing what's right by the people in our community, and by really taking an interest in preserving opportunity and preserving the well-being of your people, whether it be in this country or around the world. We know that we just are lied to every day. So, Father, help us that we may stand in the gap, honor you, work towards restoration, and set aside petty differences so that we can get to a place where we can fight against this evil which has taken over our communities and our country. Father, thank you again for just the opportunity to be here today. And and these things we ask in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. All right, we have a 7-minute video that I want to show you. I did it this morning on the way to work, so I'm wearing the same shirt that I'm wearing right now. Go ahead and give us a follow, and if you want to check out the Substack, I got a new Substack that's going to be going out here in a couple days. And by the way, we're going to be on Substack and a few other platforms. We're going to work on some things this coming week. And Joe, I like your confidence in bringing people in that you know are going to rub your audience the wrong way. Yeah, people left as a result of it. But you can't have, look, if you're in an echo chamber, you're screwed. You're absolutely screwed. And it makes you unable to take on hard conversations. There's never a conversation I'm not willing to have. And if I can get all of you guys to that place, it makes it much more palatable for you to have a conversation with people in your community and be forgiving. Accept them where they are, not where you necessarily want them to be. And, we were able to learn something about Patrick, which I think is super important. He shared some what I believe is one of the most vulnerable things that you can associate with, and that is the loss of a child that you could have prevented. And that's a hard thing. It's a very big burden to carry. So just think about that. All right. God bless you all. We'll see you soon.
Good morning. I woke up this morning to Ed sending me a bunch of stuff about license plate readers for police departments. And I'm reminded about a few things. I wanted to encourage you while at the same time blackpilling you. So I'm going to say the quiet part out loud. I'm going to talk about the obvious. And here's the obvious. In the last 8 years, the state of Colorado has degraded to a place where it's hardly recognizable. And although you could say over the last 30 years we've had Democrat governors and people in office that have not necessarily stood for the interests that we have as people, they've accelerated the destruction of our state using a blueprint that, frankly, is in other states like Oregon and Washington, California, Virginia, Maryland, New York, Michigan. And you can see what they're doing in Texas and other states. This is a plan. The plan is destroy everything that's good, replace it with deviancy, let criminals out on the street, and steal the very essence of what it means to be an American. You live in a police state. And every time we turn around, we have this judicial coup that stands up and says, no, we're going to protect those people that are in government. We're going to protect the haves. We're going to throw the have-nots down into a hole. We're going to make it impossible for them to get justice. And we're going to create a judicial process that holds us unaccountable for our decisions and the lives that we ruin. That's the reality of what we face right now in the state of Colorado and in many states around the country. And as I sit there and say that to you, I can't help but equate what's happening in our states and in our country with what's happened in Venezuela. And all you have to do is go back to 2004. It was the third wealthiest country in the world. And the United States sits almost in that same position. We're not the first wealthiest. We take out our debt. We're the third wealthiest. But what they had to do is they had to accelerate their tyranny. And we had to allow them to do it. They had to give us crumbs and say, oh, we're going to give you a little bit of money if you stay home for 2 weeks so you don't kill grandma. We're going to shut down businesses, add more regulation, and we're going to make sure that the election process is done behind a black box so that no one can see it. And every time you go to talk to your elected officials like Lauren Boebert or Jared Polis, you get the same sad story. Sit down, slave. It doesn't matter what side you're on. The hubris is undeniably present. And if that's not enough, I want to ask you if any decision and any rhetoric that they've said or done over the last 8 years in the state of Colorado, any rhetoric, if it's ever manifested into anything that is good for the people. Now, set aside your I'm a Republican or I'm a Democrat, I'm an independent. Set it aside for a minute. And I want to ask you a simple question. Have the people that said that they represent your interest as they stand on a stage and shout dog whistles of homophobe and transphobe, and has any of that done anything in order to promote or to make your life better? I would argue it did the opposite. They took your tax dollars. They made it impossible for you to own anything. Your house, you rent from the government. Property taxes have tripled in the last 7 years. And we're in a place now where our politicians say, oh, we've got to silence the voice of people like Joe Oltmann because he called for accountability for treason committed against the people, not only in our state, but people around the nation. So I'm going to ask you a simple question. What are you going to do about it? Are we going to sit on the sideline and watch everything fall apart as they choose a diabolical candidate as a Republican? And the Republican Party, by the way, just as rotted as the Democrat Party. Sorry, it is. They select, not elect. It is not the will of the Republicans who represents them in Congress or at any level of government. It's weak, pathetic, controllable people. People that, frankly, don't do the biddings for anyone in the community. They do the biddings for themselves, feeding themselves and gaining an immense amount of wealth on a $160,000 salary if you're in Congress. So I'm going to ask you the question as I say the quiet part out loud. What the hell are you going to do about it? I've been standing for the last 6 years. Thursday is going to be the start of something really big. But you can already see the rhetoric. And the rhetoric, by the way, is not just coming from the left. It's coming from people within our own party that are trying to soften the blow of what President Trump has to say on Thursday. So I pray that nobody gets to him. I pray that he comes out screaming and breaking things. Wreck-It Ralph. And doing what is necessary in order to give back some semblance of what our country should actually look like. And oh, by the way, I want to say this. To the person that basically said, Joe, look at the fat guy. I want to thank you because I've been getting a little pudgy around here just as so I went ahead and decided to go back to the gym before I have this massive surgery and down 11 pounds in the last 8 days. And I can still bench 275 like I'm standing still. So it was a good reminder. So I just figured I'd throw that all in there, and I'm going to get back to my fighting weight, so to speak. And listen, we got to make a decision whether we Wreck-It Ralph and join a rebellion, a real rebellion. That doesn't mean it has to be violent, but it could be. It could get there. But we know who our targets are. We know the system is designed to take from us what was never theirs to take. We know that it has enslaved us. We know that it has pushed us in a place where, frankly, there's no opportunity for young people. None. And so we have to make a decision on whether or not we've lived a good life. We've been given enough opportunity, and now we're willing to unselfishly serve those that come after us. And that is the American ideal, and that is the American spirit. But I figured I'd throw in that other part about me working out, being able to throw up 275 pounds, because I was pretty impressed with myself. But I've always had retard strength, just to add a little humor to it. All right, God bless you. Remember, but God, President Trump's going to come out on Thursday, and frankly, I don't know what this election season holds for any of us, but I do know this. The American people are wide awake, and no matter how much Mark Elias or Weasel Weiser or Jenna Griswold or any of them, Hick, whatever his name is, Hickenlooper, no matter what they say, it's all just empty words, bullshit, that they put on the end of a stick and expect you to eat it like ice cream. It's not ice cream. It's shit on a stick. And you can't polish a turd. Polishing a turd, it's still a turd. And they're turds. So God bless you. See you soon. Have a great day. And we got some great things coming up. We're going to Wreck-It Ralph on content media in the state of Colorado. So look for it. It's going to be epic. All right. Take care.
Rise up untamed in the heart of the fire where the wild ones roam. Joe Oltmann's calling, bringing truth back home. From conservative daily to this untamed fire, we shatter the silence, lifting spirits higher. No chains can hold us, no lies can prevail. Authentic and fearless on this rugged trail. Patriots gather under stars and stripes. Untamed nation, igniting the night. Untamed nation, let the truth roll out in this land of the free. Standing proud from sea to shining sea, we won't back down. Catch the fire, wear the crown. Untamed nation, it's our battle song, motivating hearts where the brave belong. Yeah, untamed and wild, forever strong. Play it again all night long. Break the mold, chase the real. No more games, time to heal. Joe's voice leads the untamed crew. Truth matters through and through.